I got to do my Lion King review, and like the fucking Kimba shit that I've been watching. And I was watching a good amount of it while I was gone, and I was still doing work while I was gone. I was like editing, I got some commentary tracks stuff edited up and watched over some shit from the gaming channel edits and stuff like that. But yeah, so I watched more of that Kimba shit while I was gone. I'm on the second series, mostly finished the second series. And I might just wind up deciding to make Kimba a different video, because there's so much I want to say about it that I think it's at the point where it would just be way too much of a segue in the actual Lion King review for it to even be included there. And so I'm thinking, should I just make a Kimba review first? Because I think the Kimba shit's hilarious, and I want to make a video on it somehow. But I think that with the amount that I want to say about it and the amount of clips that I want to show from it, like the amount that I want to talk about it also, like just, I don't think it would work as like a little segue in the YMS review anymore. Like that thing about the poster in Old Boy, like just talk a bit about that and come back sort of thing. But I think the Kimba shit is just way too, there's too much I want to say about it. So I might wind up just like finishing the Kimba shit, like finishing the show, making an entire video of that. Not like a full YMS review, something more akin to like a thoughts on video, and then get back to the Lion King thing. I think that's what I might wind up doing at this point. Ugh, the Kimba shit's like still fresh too. And then when I make my Lion King review, I can mention it, but not go into detail about it.
Adam plays. What is your favorite 16-bit games?
Is Pokemon Blue a 16-bit game? Because that. That's 8-bit? What's 16-bit? Oh, Super Nintendo? What have I played from Super Nintendo era? Like, Game Boy Advance games don't count, or what?
Nope.
32-bit is PlayStation? Okay. 16-bit. What have I played that's 16? Have I played any 16? I'm sure I have. I don't know how I could pick a favorite, though. I don't think I've played much. I haven't played the original F-Zero. I don't think.
Maybe you wouldn't initially.
I don't know why I thought N64 when N64 is 64-bit. That's the whole point of 64. Oh man, I just got a flashback to the kid that got the N64 for Christmas, and I want to watch that. That's an old meme. The happiest kid of all time. I wasn't allowed video games when I was a kid. Definitely not that age. Yeah, that's kind of unheard of now, isn't it? That was like a thing for 90s kids. There would be a bunch of, well, depending on where you lived, I guess. I lived in Alberta. But like, there are tons of parents were like, you can't have video games, because then you'll just sit in front of the TV all day. Even though I already was with TV shows and movies. Блядь. I don't know why this is funny. Oh my god, Kyle Kalinske was on Jesse Lee Peterson? What the fuck? Oh, I have to watch this. This is old! I have to watch this! Oh, later. Oh my god.
And you've only kind of...
Beta! Amazing.
You know, almost stuck.
Trump got a Twitch? Nice.
Upon.
Adam, if Trump asked you to co-op Halo 3 on stream, would you?
If Trump asked me to co-op Halo 3 on stream, would I? Yes. Of course who wouldn't do that? Of course I would do that. Who wouldn't do that? Co-op Halo 3 with Donald Trump? Hell yeah.
The music or the
That'd be
cinematography
awesome.
or the different environments before. It's just I like
Super
them
under-
more.
Who the fuck wouldn't do that? You're crazy. What kind of a question is that? I'd like shoot an elite and be like, take that, Soleimani. What are my thoughts on Ralph's Joker review? It was alright.
It's over with Avengers.
I
We have a great question.
don't see anything wrong with his opinion. Perhaps he could have communicated his opinion in a way that would have been more persuasive to people that didn't already agree with him. I think that that's probably the main issue with it. Is, it's not necessarily a wrong opinion, but I think that a lot of people hate it because he didn't present things in a way that spoke to them necessarily. And in a way, I think he kind of foresaw a lot of pushback, and that wound up taking up too much of the review is him, I guess, anticipating the pushback, which doesn't really work out all that well, and I've done it before, and I've learned from it. There are reviews where I've gotten overly defensive because I'm aware of how people will perceive it. And over time, I've learned that that's not the best way to approach it. But, yeah, I mean, it's not like a wrong opinion sort of thing. But you can definitely see a change in how people respond to something depending on how you approach it, I think. Yeah. And I knew he was going to get a lot of fucking pushback on this review when he was on Twitter saying he was going to do it. I was like, I'm ready, boys. Give me that popcorn. But yeah, now we're like in an era of YouTube where, depending on the type of film, it's going to be met with more criticism than it would have 5 years ago. See, that's the thing, though, is like with the 1917, I know I structured my review in a way that I was comfortable with, and I didn't overly anticipate pushback. And I think I communicated myself well. So the people that are freaking out about 1917, I don't really give too much of a shit about. I do mention it briefly in my Oscars roundup video, and I clarify a couple things that I consider to be like misconceptions about my review, but yeah, it's people are treating it like there's a common response of like, well, I didn't see that marketing. It's like, okay, right? And then there's the other implication that like if the marketing was different, that I would feel very differently about it. I don't think I would feel very differently about it. I might feel a little bit differently about it. But the marketing itself is not necessarily like, oh, you lied to me, which they kind of did. It's a little bit of that, but the reason why I mention the marketing is because it makes it that much more clear what the film is trying to be and what the director's intent is, which I think are very important factors in terms of grading a film. I think director's intent is a very incredibly important factor. So, yeah, exactly, Adrenaline Dragon. You didn't even know it was a one-shot. Okay, sorry. I thought you said going on, not going in. Like, the way the film was, it was, like, difficult to tell that that's what it was even trying to go for watching the film. You know? It wasn't... It felt like it was trying to be several things at once. If the marketing was different, if it didn't have the one-shot gimmick, yeah, the one-shot thing I felt didn't really help the movie. It felt like contradictory to the rest of the movie. It felt like a completely different thing. It felt like it was trying to be two things at once. Like, do you want to be a basic, formulated, cliched, cheesy war movie, or do you want to be an art film? Because the one-shot gimmick implies you want to be an art film, but then the rest of the movie implies otherwise. So, like, I can understand the perspective of wanting it to be in real time sort of movie. Like, that's its own argument to make. And when I see people defending the one-shot thing, they always use examples that really do not defend one shot. They defend the in real time aspect. So yeah, I can see a defense for in real time, and that's not necessarily what I was criticizing at all. But the one shot aspect, I really didn't help the movie, and it was distracting and just kind of pretentious, honestly. If the rest of the movie backed it up, it wouldn't be. If the rest of the movie felt genuine, if it wasn't just some cheesy basic war movie, then it would be fine. But as it is, it's just really kind of pretentious and weird that that's what's in your movie when the rest of it is just so basic.
Need someone else to kind of rein it in a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Because he is kind of a genius, I think.
Yeah, but he's always been propped up by how...
I think the term genius gets thrown around a little too often. There's very few people I would say are geniuses. Like, artistically. Like, if we're talking about science or math or anything that I'm not obviously an expert in, you know, then I have no opinion. Not to say I'm an expert in movies, but when it comes to art, there are very few people I would say are geniuses. Even like my favorite lyricist, Conor Oberst, like I wouldn't call him a genius. I would call Charlie Kaufman pretty genius. Stanley Kubrick I would call genius. Very, very few people that exist that I would call geniuses, though. I think that word gets thrown around way too often. Hideo Kojima? No. Come on.
One of those kind of classic ideas men type characters like a George Lucas who can come
Neil
up
Breen? Yes, obviously.
with these ridiculous concepts, but you might need someone else to kind of rein it in a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Because he is kind of a genius, I think.
Yeah, but he's always been propped up by how fantastic the actual game design is. I don't know if he
See, even Hanukkah, even Michel Hanukkah, I'm not sure I would even call him he's my favorite director. I'm not sure I would call him a genius. Maybe I just have like a different threshold.
basically as
Because like he's my favorite director because he gives a shit, right? It's not like he invented giving a shit. It's not like he invented being meticulous. Like, he's super creative and thoughtful, and I love his films so much, and they connect with me on a personal level, and I love everything that he's doing, and it just speaks to me. But genius. I feel like that word shouldn't be thrown around too often. There's very few people I would consider a genius. Charlie Kaufman is like a real fucking thinker, though.
Hey, no, no.
Well, some video of a bizarre scene on the streets of San Jose. Several people who'd been attending FurCon Friday night came to the aid of a screaming woman inside of a car. One man dressed as a pink dinosaur, another as a tiger, and several more helped pull a man out of the car who'd been assaulting a woman. They then sat on him and held him for police. Suspect arrested for domestic violence.
I was at that convention. That was in January. Yeah. That was posted on the YMS subreddit. Some like dude was like in an Uber and it was like parked on the road and he was like yelling at a girl and like started punching her, and then the furries were walking by and like dragged him out of the car and beat him up. Well, they were in like half fursuit. That was in January. I was there. Well, I wasn't at the scene, but I was at the convention. So, yeah.
Good at directing actors at all.
Yeah.
Or something.
I like. They then sat on him. It's like that's a funny way to describe it.
Friendly. Will always be friendly to people.
I think I'm glad that I have my podcast with two people that are not assholes. I'm glad I made a podcast with people that are not like gigantic pieces of shit. Because you see so many YouTube podcasts that will like disband after X amount of episodes. Like maybe eventually we'll just get bored and decide to do something else, or one of us will get busy or something. But hopefully, I don't think we'll have like any kind of like falling out or anything. But like, I don't know. I think Ralph and Alex are both good people. Not to say that there's no other good people on YouTube that I could have made a podcast with, but sometimes people have numbers. Sometimes people have a subscriber count, and then others will gravitate towards that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that someone's a good person. A lot of people with high subscriber counts are actually shitty, terrible people. And then people only wind up finding out about that later. I'm going to listen to some...
Kyle Kalinske. He is a progressive talk show host on Secular Talk on YouTube and Blog Talk Radio.
I came to the conclusion
Jesse
that there
Lee
is no God,
Peterson
and
is
that was after
fucking
looking into
hilarious.
Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins, among others.
Amazing. And were you raised by
Amazing.
Were you raised by your father and mother? You do.
Yes.
When you
It's so fascinating because Jesse Lee Peterson asks these exact same questions to every single fucking guest he has on that's like not religious, right? And you'd think eventually it would just get through his fucking skull. You'd think eventually, the billionth time someone has said like, hey, you actually don't need God to have any kind of moral framework, right? Like a moral framework, evolutionary, is inevitable among social creatures, right? The existence of God is superfluous in this conversation. You'd think that eventually he wouldn't need to ask the question, but like literally, like no matter how many times people answer this question, he doesn't even listen to it really. He just goes, amazing, beta, amazing, man. Like it doesn't process in his fucking brain. He's so insane. It's so funny.
lonely or by yourself.
So
or
we're
you feel
complicated, Jesse. Human beings are complicated, and there's a range of different things that you'll go through in your life.
What is the purpose of being an emotional person? It doesn't serve any good. What is the purpose of that?
Well, I think emotion is just kind of a mental thing in the same way that
It doesn't serve any good. What is the purpose of that? Like what? Jesse Lee Peterson has got like a set idea of philosophy and beliefs. Like, and it's literally unchangeable. It's literally not something that can be budged ever. He's fucking old. He's so fucking old. And his ideas and beliefs are like concrete and set in stone. There is no single issue in which you could change Jesse Lee Peterson's mind on. It's literally not possible.
What is the purpose? Peace, not happiness. And peace is like everlasting. And never mind what situation that you're going through. Happiness is based on your environment, based on what you're going through, what you have or don't have, or the people in your life or not in your life. But when you have peace, none of those things matter because only God can give you peace. What do you think of that?
I don't think you're necessarily wrong. But I don't think it's a
He literally just like says his conclusion, and then what do you think of that? Like, here's my worldview. What do you think of that? That's not a question. What kind of an interviewer are you?
Your emotions, you will help them, and it will be bad for them, not necessarily good. But if you are a logical person, as a man should be, then you will see when to help and not to help, and it would be.
It's so fucking insane and hilarious that like in this day and age, in the past like 5 years, there's been this pervasive idea by conservatives that they are like the logical party. Like if we're going to consider it like parties or whatever. There's this pervasive idea by people who believe in God and who think that like gays are going to ruin the country, that they are the logical ones, right? And it's like, yeah, there's a billion examples of people on the left that are fucking idiots. I'll give you that, right? That's pretty obvious. It's the only reason that like right-leaning YouTube channels are thriving right now. It's because there's so many fucking stupid people that identify as people on the left, right? But when you're saying like, oh yeah, I believe in God, and also marijuana kills people, but we're the facts and not feelings group. It's like, oh god, how fucking bad did the left have to fail for this to happen? Honestly, this is a failure of the left for this to even be something that people could have been persuaded by. This wasn't a thing before.
They need to check themselves because maybe they're overspending, maybe they're getting things that they don't need. You know, it's impossible to have a full-time job and not be able to make it in life. That's
such a boomer thing to say. It's impossible to be working a full-time job and not be able to make it in life. Like, I get that you were raised in, like, the 60s, but that's not what the world is right now, Jesse. Like, that's the most boomer fucking thing that anybody could say. Like, you don't understand. You don't understand what the current world is. Like, look at like the graph of like cost of living versus minimum wage. Look at that fucking graph over time and see how that compares from like Jesse Lee Peterson's growing up to current day. It's a very different fucking story. And that's the problem, right? Anyway, let's...
No, you that person, you need to go to the social safety net because they don't pay you enough to live.
No, they're not paying attention to how they're spending their money. They're not managing. Okay. They're probably
boomer
people, and their lives are out of control. But let
me... If I was ever on Jesse Lee Peterson's show, like his fucking beta, I would just say boomer. He's so funny. I love him.
Yes, you disagree with me that racism doesn't exist. I said that racism doesn't exist, and you disagree with that. Why? First of all, do you disagree with that?
I do, and I think there's plenty of evidence that racism exists. I don't think it's as bad as it was in the 1960s.
It didn't exist in the 1960s either.
So it never existed?
Never existed. And so where's your proof that
racism never existed, quote Jesse Lee Peterson. He's so fascinating. He's such a fascinating person.
At some point, they became evil, but not racist. They were no different than Louis Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and the Democratic Party, Black Lives Matter.
But if racism is thinking that your race is superior and other races are inferior, then why would...
Those examples he gave.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter was founded by a bunch of black lesbians and black homosexuals.
Lesbians! He's so funny! Oh, I love him! I want to know what he thinks is racist. If there's no such thing as racism in his mind, whatever. I just want to know if he thinks that anything exists that could be considered racist.
I offer individuals a helping hand.
How about the group? If you saw a group of black...
I feel like if I were on Jesse Lee Peterson's show, I might just troll him the entire time. Because he asked the "Do you love black people?" question a lot. I feel like if he asked that to me, I'd be like, no. No, I hate black people. I wonder if after I said that, he would be like, oh, great. Great, you're just like me.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Oh, he's so funny. Jesse Lee Peterson is such a character. He's so funny. He's hilarious. Amazing.
We punished for it or something.
Yes.
We all yiff down here.
Oh, is that the new It?
Yeah.
I'd watch it.
A videotape with
Nice. Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko, Silent Hill 3, and weird, creepy Bugs Bunny picture from 4chan.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Let me just give a shout out to my $5 patrons. Rasmus, Brandon J. Barnard, Matthew Clark, Mecha Dong, Big Weld from Robots the Animated Movie, Brandon Stuper, E-Man7Blue, Tequila Cinema, and Pit Wang. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.